I guess I'll share.
We got one today. Oh, that's right.
Yes.
That's my whole point.
It's all filled in already.
There you go.
Recording in progress.
I hope so.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Just a reminder, if you want to speak during the citizens hearing portion of our meeting tonight, please be sure you sign in on the sign-up sheet. We'll be starting in about 1 minute. Thank you. All right, we're gonna get started. If you have a phone, please put it in some type of silent mode for the meeting. Call the meeting to order. First order of business is the pledge, so please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Nelson, roll call.
Dave Brutloff.
Here.
Kevin Kelly. Here. Aaron Kinder.
Here.
Bill Morris.
Here.
Lynn Norris. Here.
First on our agendas are consent items. This is everything listed under consent, which includes our routine and non-controversial business. This includes for tonight the open session minutes from the June 6th board meeting, the June 14th public meeting, the June 21st special meeting, the July 5th board meeting, the July 18th work session. It also includes all the monthly financial statements and payment of the bills. And before we do anything, I want to thank Sarah for identifying the items that were in pink on our monthly bills that helped us identify the grant items. And I want to compliment Allison on the minutes. I thought they were extremely accurate and detailed and helpful to all of us. So I thank you both for that. So were there any questions on the minutes or anything under the consent agenda items? None. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve consent agenda. We have a second? I'll second. Any final questions or discussions? Not. Allison, roll call.
Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
Lynn Norris. Yeah.
Next on the agenda is a citizens hearing. Did we have anybody sign up?
Yeah, just one more.
I'm Lauren Evans. I live at 401 Northeast Street. I'm a retired registered nurse, and my major in school was biology. I have a very big concern that nothing was dealt with. The fact that blastomycosis is a fungal infection that can cause a high rate of mortality in the people who attract it. I have a friend in Normal who got blasto. She's been fighting it for 5 years. I have another friend that lived 2 miles west of here. He's been fighting it for 5 years. I have a friend in Gridley whose dog got blasto and died from it. Plasmycosis is a fungal infection that lives in the ground, under trees and leaves, and in your cornfields, and in every walk of life. You want to put a sewer system in that's going to dig up half of this city and disturb all of that blasto and put it in the air. You're also going to put a sewer system through what we all have read about, tree limbs and tree branches and tree roots that tear up sewer systems. I suggest you reevaluate and put the sewer systems in the streets.
Thank you, and Greg, do you want to comment any on the tree root impact on sewers?
Well, admittedly, there will be some tree roots that we will go through during construction. New sewer construction is significantly tighter than old sewer construction. Trees are amazingly invasive, and so for maybe the first 20 years or so, the village won't really see any root issues in the sewer system, and then after that, different reaches and depending on the type of trees that are immediately adjacent, could begin to put some roots in, but fairly minor. And then typical sewer maintenance would involve a cutter head, televising, and then a cutter head to come through and remove those roots. Modern sewer construction also involves bedding and backfill material that isn't so attractive to trees. And the other aspect that is advantageous versus tile lines, which are much shallower, gravity sewers are significantly deeper. So a sewer line that's 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 foot deep is never going to see tree roots. You will never see a tree go that deep. They're looking for water, they're looking for nutrients, and anything in the ground that deep just doesn't present anything that they want. But again, I don't know anything about the fungal infections and the material that's involved there. Not to make light of what you're saying, but I've been involved in several extensive constructions and I'm still walking. But I've never heard that before. But again, the tree roots are a legitimate future maintenance item. But only again for something in the 0 to 6 foot range, maybe.
Is your concern on the fungus something you expect to take the village to take action on at this time?
No. To reconsider putting it in the areas where the possibility of releasing the fungus into the air to kill the animals and to affect the people that live around there.
Okay, so that's something that would need to be addressed if we would proceed
Correct.
at that time.
I didn't see any place where it was even considered. The person who wrote about it said he I assumed that the air quality was good. That's what he said, but it did not touch the fact that the digging out of those areas could really damage the air quality that we are breathing now and give us some health issues.
Okay, I'm sure if we do proceed, we'll be working with the EPA to address any concerns, whether it be air quality or fungal growth, it's that type of thing. So pretty confident it will be approached correctly, if we do proceed. Great.
Mayor, I would also point out that our focus during the construction of the sanitary sewer would be to locate the lines in the right of way under existing village property, which may alleviate some of the concerns being expressed on various locations. Most of that's been disturbed and developed in the past. May even have pavement over it right now. So,
Okay, thank you, Greg. Allison, is there anyone else? Okay, well, thank you for your comments, and I wasn't aware of the topic you were talking about, so it's good information to have. Thank you. There's no one else that signed up. The citizens hearing portion is closed. Next, we'll have the reports from myself. New trustee status. I have not have someone yet to recommend to the village. I have a couple other names, and I'm checking with a couple of trustees to add a couple more names to the list. So there have been a lot of people that have given it serious consideration and decided that it was going to be a considerable amount of work to be a trustee at this time. So most people are declining at this time. So I'll keep everyone aware of where we're at with that. Sewer study status, we really don't have any change. We have two public hearings coming up tomorrow, August 2nd, and a week from tomorrow, Wednesday, August 9th, our public hearing dates, 7 o'clock here at the police station. As many trustees as possible will be attending, and this will be a chance for our citizens to show support or lack of support for the sewer system. So those will both be tomorrow night. I'm sorry, there'll be one tomorrow night and one a week from tomorrow night. When I set out information about the public hearings, Kevin suggested we have a public meeting on the sewer study in September. If we need a meeting in September, I would like to suggest the first Wednesday in September, if that's available for everybody, for the majority of trustees. That would be September 6th. You're going?
I'm not.
Okay,
What I was wondering, sometimes all three meetings would be on Wednesday.
yeah.
Is there
Should we
maybe-
do it on a different day?
I would say maybe if there's activities,
Suggest a date.
there's a, to me, I would say maybe that following week. Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay, how about, September 12th? That majority, so we need the majority of the trustees that are as many meetings as possible to listen to comments and get the feedback. So we'll do a meeting September 12th at 7 o'clock here at the police department. There will be a public meeting and not a public hearing. So we will announce it, but it will not have to be published in the public hearing format as advertised in the will. So we'll still have minutes, and it will be about the same meeting, just will not have the formal announcement. Okay, September 12th. I talked to Normal tonight. They're working on the boundary agreement status, and they'll probably have something to us within the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll get something going on that. Also received a request for a sports award recognition sign, similar to the sign that we had coming into Hudson. They congratulated the softball team for winning their league championship a number of years ago. So I would like to have a couple trustees volunteer to look at this and come up with some guidelines, so we don't have to fumble every time we get a request for the signs. The guidelines we come up could even include working with the school and putting something up at the school. We don't think a road sign is needed. So do we have any trustees to volunteer to do that? Okay, I will,
I volunteer, Joe.
I will start with some basics and send it out and ask for comments. We'll go from there. All right, next, not on the agenda, but a couple things that I want to make sure people don't forget. I will be working on a ordinance that will ban burning fresh grass or green grass, get that added to our burning ban. That's been a problem for a few people. I think we need an ordinance that grants the mayor or the fire chief the authority to implement a burn ban for everything. About a month ago, we were having drought conditions and it hadn't rained hardly at all in a month. And some towns had implemented a burning ban. We do not have anything in our ordinances that allow that. So it could be a joint agreement between the fire department and the village, or it could be the fire chief or the mayor. Doesn't make any difference to me who we have authorized to do it, but we need something in the book. So we do run into that again. We have something in place that a ban could be implemented, and the ordinance would include fines. The fines would need to follow all of our other fine amounts. So I'll be working on that, or I'll wait till we get a new trustee and get that in. We briefly discussed an ordinance to regulate VRBOs or Airbnbs. And if I remember, our consensus was we prefer to ban it. So if that's what our consensus is, we will put that in the ordinance. If we want to just write regulations for it.
You can't you can't ban the use, but you can regulate it as a special use, which would require board approval before anybody could do it. So,
Okay, so we can't just outright ban it.
no. Well, I mean, you can nearly ban it through regulating it into a series of areas, with buffers from residential, and you can require special use, but under general principles of zoning law, you can't outright prohibit a use. You can just regulate it.
Pat, do you have any ordinances in other villages that we might be able to use?
I have a couple which I can share with you. That would give you a few data points. So I'll send those over to you, and that way you got something to work off.
That way we'd have something to start with. So we'll get that out to the trustees then. Okay, we also got a suggestion to set up email accounts for the planning committee and the zoning board of appeals committees. And I think if we set up generic email accounts for the chairman of the zoning board of appeals and the chairman of the planning commission, that will be adequate, and they could probably forward emails on to members. One thing to keep in mind is the charges are monthly per user. We pay Rackspace, and Sarah's not sure off the top of her head how much that is. So she's gonna get that information to us, so.
It's like five something, I believe.
My preference is, because of the potential of litigation and people coming in and taking your personal cell phones or whatever, if you use that for business, or locking up your email accounts, that type of thing. My preference is that we have everybody, all village email on Rackspace. And if it's not a ridiculous amount of money, I just as soon have all the zoning board of appeal members and the planning commission members also on Rackspace email rather than personal email. So it's a pain to have multiple email accounts, but I personally feel bad that we would be risking potential of having people have their email accounts locked for village business. So once we get the costs, I definitely want to proceed with 2 generic accounts, so people could email the zoning board of appeals chairman and as generic count for planning commission chairman. And then we can decide later on the additional counts, once we find out what some costs. So we'll be working on that. Next, we have a report from Denny, Water, Public Property, Streets and Zoning.
Dave, can I add before we go there, can I ask you about that, burn ban for the fresh grass? So we still have a burn, some people can still burn their leaves, right? They can do all that, in just the fresh grass.
There are some materials that are banned today.
Okay,
I don't know that we can distinguish fresh grass from old grass, so it probably need to have a no grass.
okay, yeah.
It would probably just have to be included in the burning ban.
Well,
all grass.
I know Mark told me a couple times where that happened, and I'm just wondering about enforcement of that, can we distinguish that?
All we can do today is ask them not to.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll quit, but, you know, person A quits and then person B does it in a month. So we get the ordinance in place and then we can eliminate the problem. Okay, Denny?
Water usage, 3.1 million, 101,000 a day. Water loss is 3.5%. Why I'm on the water, the SCADA system's been working good for 2 weeks, and I think I mentioned that at our other little special meeting. I can see that on my phone, and I talked to Scott from SCADAware about possibly adding either the mayor, as the mayor is the owner of the water system, and or the water trustee, that their accounts could be turned on and off as they're in and out of office. So that's a rainy day. So anyway, it's up and working. Everything seems to be going well with that. As you might have noticed in the last few days, we had kind of the final MFT done of having the oil coat put on the cover seal coat, and I was at the fair at that time and got a very short term notice of 24 hours, and thank Phil and Mark for kind of covering that as for me, as well as the rest of the finished up a half a block of sidewalk, and then the playground. I guess before I get to the playground, we're almost done, waiting on a few last pieces of metal for the pavilion over the dog park. That was supposed to be in today, so I anticipate getting that done. In my plan, I've been trying to get a lot of these little things all done and then get into drainage mode to start laying all the stormwater pipe that we'll be doing. So hopefully starting that in the next week or two. The playground equipment, slide, etc. I did not order that yet because I made a silly assumption that shipping was not going to be that much or included. Well, Sarah, if you could bring that up, that is a major deal.
Which do you do with the cost up first or the equipment first?
Whatever one you want to bring up first is fine. We looked at I believe the red slide first, and that was 72 and change, I believe.
Before shipping, yeah.
Was what the cost of that slide was. Well, it's like $2,000 or just shy of that to have that shipped here, and it's not someplace close that we can just drive and go get. So
That one's a 6-foot slide.
that's a 6-foot spiral slide for our market research. And so we also looked, as Aaron suggested, into the source well. That unfortunately doesn't really help us out a lot. we found this other one, that is that an 8 foot, if I remember right? And that was $3,000 more, bigger, basically the same shipping. So with that being said, as we were looking, trying to package things, and I apologize not getting this on the agenda tonight to go further with this, but by adding this third or second piece, I'm sorry, this piece was like 1,500 if I remember right.
I got it all.
So if you go to the cost page, my newest thought, there you go, is it's $9,000 rather than $7,200 for what it says with the price of the shipping, the blue slide, and the spiral climber. So we would get a bigger slide and 2 pieces for a little bit more, and there's what is in the playground fund. So it's barricaded off now, as we're heading toward kind of maybe the end of nearing the end of the usage, heavy usage of the playground for the ball season has passed. I just wanted, I guess, to spend a little more time maybe thinking about, maybe getting those 2 pieces, and the shipping is really not a lot different, if I remember right, on getting the blue climber and the slide. The shipping is relatively similar to that versus just getting the smaller red slide. So
What's the discount? We only ordered the 2. Discount shipping.
So we tried to look around, is there any place in Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky that's, a day's drive there that we could drive and pick this up? Because I think we can drive somewhere for less than $2,000, and well, it's in like Pennsylvania and Texas and not one state away. So again, I apologize for not having this on the agenda that we could take any action tonight, but that's kind of, I've hit and miss, worked with Sarah on trying to find different options of where we can come up with something if this is what we have in the account, if we're gonna go ahead and get something to replace that. Do we want to try to do it yet this year, get 2 pieces? That's where I'm at, because I kind of, as we approved 8,000, I'd have to get like a 4-foot slide or just a straight slide to get it for that 8,000, and I don't think I made the assumption that's not the point of what you guys all wanted to do. So that's where, good, bad, and different, that's where I'm at with the playground stuff. So I'm personally prioritizing working on the drainage coming up a little higher than the playground, but I can easily be redirected elsewhere. Not the answer. I realize you were all looking here.
There's other things we can look at too, if they want to wait till next month. And
So-
have on there the boat, there's lots of.
So other options we can work on between now and next month is maybe a piece to fabricate onto the existing one to kind of close that piece out. Come up with several different options for multiple pieces to get us something that is under our current budget amount. So then, I mean, we're missing a slide up there, we have a slide over here, so me personally, I'm in favor of at least one of the pieces being a slide. But if we're going to get from the same company and saving shipping, and they did cut us a small little deal if we did order multiple pieces, The other thing that we did look at, is, like we have a small little piece over here at the Front Street Park that's kind of a multi-faceted piece, like the main piece that's up there at the ballpark. And it was almost like for another $1,500, $2,000, you could get a piece that had a slide and a swing and a rock wall and climbing things and so, you
That's
know,
their sale items that are, they're like 50% off and
Closeout
then free
stuff.
shipping. And you could get, for almost that price, you could get a whole new.
so there's pieces of playground, if I remember right, that were
15,
$35,000 initial systems, and they were on closeout clearance type item for half that at 15, 18. So then as we were trying to talk through this, me and Sarah, well, maybe we just want to wait until next season and maybe we buy a piece now, but no, we're not gonna be able to get to it until next season, so.
I think we need to have some more discussions over the next month. But
Well,
come back
that's-
next meeting with the decision how we're gonna move forward. 'Cause what's the rest of our playground equipment look like? I mean, 'cause that would use up everything we have on a slide. And climbers.
Well, that was what was very, and, you know, I apologize for making the mistake and the assumption and not looking into this shipping more, but I just made a silly assumption that shipping was gonna be $500 or something, and for it to be $2,000.
Well, that's why I
A
put,
quarter the price of the item being shipped.
that's why I put the motion up at 8,000, because I was thinking it was not gonna be that or more than in shipping. I think over the next month, maybe we can get together more and discuss on how we want to try to move forward and come back to that.
We did, to answer your question, a few years ago, the Trimmer Park, we had some metal that was in not the best shape, kind of refabricated and powder coated. There was a piece or two of plastic up there that was cracked and not in very good shape. We had that redone, so I would have to further investigate that, but some of that up there has been.
Women's Club paid for the powder coating on that, it was like 900, they powder coated that, and I think the ramp or
The
something.
ramp
at the
up
boat
here to the
was around
ship.
$900 for powder coating, that would be nice.
And the only reason I bring that up is because if we dump everything onto a slider and a climber, we'd have something break next spring. We budget $1,500 a year. If we were to have another slide or something like it, right, it'll be years before we can afford or have to take out other budgets to try to repair.
I guess off the cuff, my biggest concern with what you're saying is a close inspection of the plastic parts up there, because I feel like the metal components can be
We can
painted,
repair.
powder coated, et cetera. I'm trying to remember off my head, I don't remember a lot more up there at the ballpark there's a tic-tac-toe thing and some fireman pole type thing that you come off of it. So I don't really remember there being a lot more that is, the slide or the swings have been updated somewhat recently with some women's club stuff, so. It's kind of, I guess, not probably too bad with the exception of.
Well, like I said, we can have some discussion between now and when we come up with a game plan for next meeting. For your motion, we'll still have to come up with an additional almost $800.
So we'll get some sort of spreadsheet and pictures sent out to all of you over the course of the next month to make sure that the shipping and I'll take a look at the existing equipment and see if there's anything that looks like it might need to be addressed as far as painting or rusting, et cetera.
Hey, Denny, do you know anybody in the normal Wilmington Parks and Recs? That you might be able to talk to if they might have any equipment available that they're not using, you know, like they have to put up or.
I could actually reach out to Bloomington, I'm from the director, so.
Okay.
I'll check with them and see if they're.
Maybe something that would get us by, we get attached to what road.
Yeah, I can reach out to them, I'll let you know.
We appreciate your efforts with that, and I am also shocked at shipping costs. I would have made the same assumption you did, that it would have been a quick product cost. So don't feel bad about that. So, does anybody have any questions for Danny on anything? Thank you, Danny. Next up is our village marshal, Mark Cotty.
All right, I passed out the monthly report. You can see the hard statistics there with traffic stops, business checks, and so forth. A couple things that I did want to point out. The radar signs, they are at the back of the PD if you want to look at them later. I reprogrammed them, got them all set up, went in there and did that. Set it up so that we can record the data once they're put up. However, they will need new posts. You cannot use the current posts that the old signs were on for two reasons: not high enough, not sturdy enough. So talking with Denny, and we put our heads together, and I really think Denny's gonna have to put in posts. We're gonna have to put in 4 new posts. And they have to be substantial, I think 6 by 6 or posts. Because they're very heavy. We went back there and tried to pick one up. Yeah, you can see they're heavy. And then there's a solar panel on top. So they have to sit up about 7 feet in the air. So it's just gonna take a little bit more time to get them installed, but they're ready. They're all programmed to go. Now we just need to put in the 4 posts. Too, and they'll be on Broadway. We did register 1 golf cart. Now we're up to 41. So it's 41 golf carts in the village. We did assist DCFS with an investigation in town. One of our assists that we did. The training I went to this month was sexual assault trauma informed response training. It's basically how to respond correctly to sexual assault. Laws change consistently with that. I do want to briefly mention that perhaps we might want to look at modifying one of our ordinances pertaining to trailers that are parked on the street. Currently, the ordinance says it has to be hitched to a vehicle if you have a trailer. So you can't just drop off a trailer and leave. The issue comes up is that, especially this time of year, every day I'm having conversations with contractors because they're coming up doing tree work and cement work and all sorts of things. And they're bringing up multiple trailers, of course, with their equipment. And then they leave. Well, one of the persons will leave with the truck to go do something else to pull the trailer, and they drop the trailer in front of the house. So then I have a conversation with them, tell them, okay, how long is this trailer going to be here? Because I'll let you keep it here during the day, but I don't want to see it at night. It needs to be removed. So I think from a practical standpoint, I understand why we have the ordinance the way we do. But we may want to consider changing it that you cannot have an unhitched trailer between the hour, sundown and sunrise, because it's a visibility issue. That's why we always had it that way, that it had to be hitched, and that we wouldn't leave them abandoned on the roadway for long periods of time. But if we had the ordinance, it just can't be after sundown, and they're not going to be working after sundown or until sunrise, I think that might take care of some of the issues. Just something to consider, maybe changing that ordinance. Because really, from a practical standpoint, I'm out there talking to contractors, and they're like, well, what are we supposed to do? We've got multiple jobs, and it's daylight, and you can see the trailers fine. So I'm just kind of giving them parking permission to let them do it anyway, because I'm not going to make them stop their work and go get a truck to get you up to. So we might want to try modifying that. But I think that's the main reason why we have it. Not to have them abandoned on the roadway, and second, you can't see them at night because they're not visible. And we could also put that if they do unhitch them during the day, they have to have cones around them or something like that. We can make it so it's pretty safe. The other thing that's coming up, it doesn't directly affect the village, it just affects every police department in the state of Illinois. Currently, all of the police agencies in the state of Illinois use a CAD system or computerized, it's computerized as a dispatch, it's a CAD system. So everything we do goes through this system and it piggybacks on the state police's system. So our computers, everybody who uses computers in their cars, all piggyback currently through the state. As of December 31st, the state has said, we're no longer going to let you do that. We're going to a new CAD system, you can't be part of it. So every county, every agency, we're looking at redoing it. So the only thing that will really affect us, because the county is going to get a new system specifically just for our county, and it's going to be a better system anyway. It'll be a lot better than what the state police have. But it may not be until March or April that it goes online next year. So we might be 3 or 4 months without this computer aided dispatch. Only thing is, you see the stats that we have here, a lot of that comes off the system, and I might not be able to give you some of those stats because everything that we do goes into that system. And probably beginning January 1, we're going to be back to where what some of these young officers would say is the Stone Age, and they looked at me saying, how did you do it back in the day? I'm like, they wrote it down on a piece of paper. Anyway, so yeah, it might be just a little difficult for them to handle. We're all freaking out about it. You know what? Just so you know that might come. There's no expense to the village or anything. That's all bought and paid for by the county. That account. It's paid through 9911 and everything else. So, the other thing is Kevin and I, of course, worked on the ad for the part-time police officer. That'll be going out, I believe, in the fall. And it'll be on, I think it goes in the Hayward Buzz.
It's all there.
Normal light, all those. And it'll run for 4 weeks, and it's also on it. So as soon as we start getting applications, we'll start reviewing them, and hopefully we'll get some qualified people for part-time police officers. Any questions?
One thing that I think jogged my memory is that I think when we approved the dash cams, and I think in the contract, I believe that the first payment is August, isn't it? I think that was.
I think so.
I think it was August on that, so.
It'll be, the first payment will be in August, and that'll be for the body.
Body cams.
Yeah, we pay for body cams first. And here's, I'm still working with the provider Axon. It's a really big company. Hard to get them sometimes to kind of change and ask for a favor, because what I want is for them to bill us for everything now. I don't want to make one payment in August and make one payment and make another payment in December. And the reason why is because it'll speed up my process for the grant that I've applied for. And I've been approved for it for $10,000. If we spend $20,000, we'll pick up half of it. I would have to wait to, when I go to submit that, I have to show that we actually paid or invoiced for the $20,000 up front. It's just trying to work with them, Kevin, on that. But yes, the first payment will be coming.
And I think then there's also, I think you had a sign put up on the station.
Oh, yes.
So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there's, if you came in the front door or if you leave by the front, you can look at the sign. I thought we needed a sign up front for people as they come to the police department, because we're not in the station that much. Even the days that we're working, try to be out and about in the community more than in the station. So if someone comes up and they ring the doorbell, no one answers, and then sometimes I get a call, how come you guys just aren't there? How come you're not around? Well, because we're out on the street. So now we have a sign that specifically says, station is not manned 24 hours a day. If you need service, call the non-emergency number, which is 309-888-5030, and they will dispatch us or a county officer to assist you. So the expectation will be there, that there'll be someone here to always answer the front door. And we did get the logo put back onto the front door, so that the emblem is on there also. So,
You know how much that sign was put on the door? I didn't see it here.
I haven't gotten a bill for
yeah,
it
we
yet.
haven't gotten a bill
So
for
who
it,
did that?
but I'll have to look it up.
Oh,
for you.
was
It's
it
a-
the company that I gave you the name of the Great Display Company? Was it that we sent you that before?
It's the one that did our logos for, who did the striping for the truck. Anyway, they did a great job, but it wasn't that expensive. Those signs are not very
Okay,
expensive.
do you have like a ballpark where that's gonna be?
I would say that it's no more than a couple $100 more at most. So, anyway, what, you think you need some more signs?
No, I found out about it when I came here and I saw it was already up and I'm just trying to figure out the cost to
No,
do that.
it's not
So
much at all.
I wasn't aware of it until I saw it, but I think it looks good.
Yeah, they're very inexpensive and good to work with. It could have been the same. when we did the sign. I'll have to let you know. I'll have to let you know.
And I think the only other questions, I'm looking at these statistics that you provide, and I think you did it before. I just want to clarify some things. I never really, I should have asked this before, but it's like attending the sewer information meeting and attending zoning meetings. And it's under the Hudson Police Department's stats.
Mhm.
Is that police related?
No, it's just meetings that I attend, that's all. I put it
Okay.
on there so that you know that what I was doing.
Okay, so
But it
that's.
had nothing, obviously,
okay.
the sewer doesn't have anything to do.
That's what I'm saying, is that, okay, you mean that, and same thing like with the, same thing with the, what was the other one that, or the rural, not this time, but the rural broadband
Mhm.
that you attend, that's more like a personal, that's what you wanna do personal, but it's not really police related, correct?
It's just, no, it's really not, it's more
Okay.
related to rural agencies, and I'm done with that.
Okay,
So I gave my input in that.
okay, okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, Mark, we worked with Kevin in and talked about the trailer ordinance and
Mhm.
decided we wanna make changes
Okay.
to that. And I think come January through the first couple months of next year, if we don't have all the numbers, we'll understand why,
Mhm.
knowing that later on they'll start again, so.
Yes.
Don't knock yourself out, don't burn up a lot of tablets trying to document all that, handle it.
Too many hash marks on
Yeah,
there.
hash marks are good, so. Anybody have any questions for Mark? No, thank you, Mark. Next on the list, civil defense, Jeff is at the fire department meeting, I'm sure sirens went off today. Okay, so that went fine. Next is our reports of standing committees, first Lynn.
Yeah, I didn't have anything on the agenda, just a couple reports. Concession stand, the season's over. We made about $300.
$400, yeah.
$400
After the
after
pay.
everything said and done. We did not buy the fridge yet, because the source well wasn't exactly what we thought it was gonna be. So we kind of wanted to take some time to do some more research to find, something that was just fitting in, budget. And then in addition, we do wanna get, a triple basin sink, so we can health permit, food permit next year, next season. There is a potential for a fall softball season that we might, look into opening for. We're waiting to get the schedule from them to see if it's, advantageous for us to have concessions for the games that they have, at the fall. So I will report back once I know more about all that. And then Sarah reminded me that we'll have harassment training, again, for all board members and employees coming up, so she'll send emails out for that, so keep an eye out for it, and I'll get those done by a certain time. That's all I have.
Okay, did your compliments about concessions being open this year, I wanna pass those along.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who all took care of all the flowers up the ballpark, but I heard a couple of good things about the flowers up there too, so. Whoever took care of those, I assume it was your staff, Danny.
Yes.
Thank you. Look great, park looked good this year.
I think it'd be best to have like a kind of a meeting with the parks and the Lions and the coaches, the organizers for next year to kind of.
Okay.
to see here soon. Yeah.
Okay, any questions for Lynn?
Yeah, one thing, I just want to kind of bring to Lynn's attention that, Sarah's report, investment report that we get on that, so the first 3 months. So I based the 3-month CDs, the first ones we have are becoming due August 23rd. So I think that's what Sarah said, she was going to review those, kind of again, what compare with the interest rates that we're getting with CUCB versus other banks and just comparison, because obviously a new list that matures, then we will get a renewal for 3 months at the, whatever the existing rate is. So just, it could change. I'm assuming it's gonna go up. I would expect that to go up, but just, that's kind of a review process, right?
The report was good, I thought, when
Yeah.
it got sent out, so thank you.
Yeah, I will, that won't always be on board meeting night. I need to have the reports, like my bank statements, to be able to do the bank rec, to then do that report. So it will definitely come out during that month, once I'm able to do the bank rec, to make sure it's all the correct numbers, just so everybody knows it won't always be board meeting night. It's on the fall, so it'll be the next week or so here.
It's not a report we have to approve,
Right,
it's
it's
just
just
a
a-
status report,
Yeah.
so,
So it'll come out monthly, just
it
might
comes
be
out.
varying in the month, depending on when I get things.
Good, thanks. Any other questions for Lynn? All right, if not, next to streets, Phil?
I have no business in streets now.
All right, thank you, Bill, and thanks for helping out again. How's the golf cart work?
Golf cart first, get yellow light. Great. Nobody hit me yet.
Well, you did have to use it for the research or work on, Pearl, or Plain Street, didn't you? You were on one end and Mark was on the other.
I actually used my truck that day.
Oh, okay.
I used it.
Okay, next we have ordinance and zoning, and we don't have that trustee yet, so there's a couple things to talk about. First, the planning commission met, I believe it was last week, and Doug, would you like to share anything out of that?
Yes, if I may. One thing that was promised prior to this meeting that we had on the 24th. During Richard's time on the planning commission, he extracted items that we felt weren't really part of the master plan. They were of a more immediate nature. So he broke those out, and with lag time between his leaving the planning commission and now, we're just now getting these, and I've tried, luckily there's nothing in the zoning department, but I've prepared this for everybody. Not everybody's on this, but the lion's share goes to Lynn, which a lot of the items that are on this list, she's in the process of doing, I think, the employee handbook, those kinds of things. So some of it might be repetitious. If it is, if it's something, Aaron had a couple of things. If they are repetitious, just understand that we talked about these at various points in the planning commission meetings and feel like they're items that could be easily done, really didn't need to be a part of the master plan. So take it as intended. Nobody is saying this needs to be done ASAP. It's just items that are things that could readily be done in a pretty easy fashion. So if you have any questions, let us know. As a part of our meeting on the 24th, we elected Bob Yayo as our chair.
and I was nominated and accepted the vice chair position. We talked about the meeting that was held the 18th with your group. Danny Engel was in attendance and was kind of given the green light to share with us at our meeting on the 24th of zoning issue studies involving other towns and villages perhaps, and how they go about things, with all of the discussion with creating new commercial frees and changing things from commercials 1 and 2 and so forth. The planning commission is anxious to take that on. We're very willing to examine and study what would be best for the village. What we would like and what we are asking for, either from the board or from Mayor Brutlaw, is a written guidance letter to tell us exactly what you want us to look at. We want it to be a collaborative effort that we report back to you as we go through those items that you want to have us examine and study. We'll share our findings with you so that we all stay on the same page of the hymn. We want to make sure that as we near the end of our study, basing our meetings and decisions on your letter, that we come up with something that everybody signs off on and says, you know, that's what we want to do. That's really what we want. And that way there are no surprises at the end where we could say, here's what we recommend, and then 2 or 3 people say, no, that's not what we wanted. So if that's agreeable, we would appreciate that kind of guidance letter. And if whoever frames that and writes it, if that can be sent to Bob, the planning commission, we would look forward to that and are anxious to take that on. Are there any questions? I wanted to offer Mark some help. I don't know if Sarah shared, there was a new law passed that allows illegals to be police officers in Illinois now.
Yes.
So you might want to broaden your search. Maybe position yourself at the Mexican border. Something to that.
Do I get to make a trip down?
No. But anyway, you got some playground equipment while you do that.
I like it. Danny, you ready to go on a road trip?
Maybe a midnight trip in some of the long parks. Bring some things back. Anyway, thank you and
Okay, thank you, Doug. Does anybody have questions for Doug?
well, I think this is good, and there's a lot of things that fall on this, and I think during when it's my time, I think I'm gonna add some things, not cheat you, but beside.
I'd like 2 trustees to head that up. Would you be one of them, Kevin? Head up writing the instructions on what we're looking for this,
Oh, for
the zoning
Zoning.
class review in comparison to other towns.
sure, I
Would you
mean,
be one of them? Lynn, would you be willing to be the other one?
so would you be sitting on that, you, Dave?
I can if you want me there.
I think
Yeah,
it'd
I'll be
be,
glad
as
to do
mayor, I
that.
think it'd be a good idea.
Let you drive it and just let me know when we're gonna meet to work on it.
Is that,
You can drive.
I can drive,
You get to coordinate,
okay.
okay?
Straight to Mexico.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I know that your 10-year plan as well as this list has taken a lot of thought and work to get this all together, so we appreciate what you've been working on and we'll continue to work on it. So
We appreciate the board's efforts on these, especially because they kind of clogged up the master plan, and if you looked at these, you may have thought, well, gee, that's not really something. So that's what Richard extracted. We put little less thought intensive items on that list that can easily be knocked out over time. So.
It's definitely things that need to be done, may or may not all be part of the
Exactly.
10-year plan.
Exactly.
There's things that have popped up that we need to work on. Thank you. I will attend any of the planning commission meetings that the chairman or any of the members would like me to attend, just let me know if you want me there.
But any and all,
Any and all.
you don't have to. You don't have to ask, please
Okay,
attend.
and I will also offer help from the TIF support group that we have contracted with. If we want to look at growth for Hudson, they would be one of the resources that could help us look at our current zoning maps and the town layout and make suggestions as far as what they feel might be good for residential or commercial growth.
That's what we'd like to see in this letter, Dave. We'd like to, like Denny, I think mentioned in your meeting, lay the maps out, see where boundaries are, see what's in districts and so forth.
That would be, yeah, separate from the, change to zoning class, that kind of thing. But that
Include it all.
is stuff that, it's a takeoff from what Greg brought up, when he met with you
Exactly.
a while back. Some more resources on, trying to figure that out. Okay. Next, under ordinance and zoning, we have the zoning board of appeals recommendation and vote. Remember, we received this from the zoning board of appeals, the meeting minutes from the review they did for the property at 503 North Broadway Street. The homeowners there are looking to do an expansion, and the health department wasn't willing to okay it at this time. The homeowner is still working with the health department to see if they can reach an agreement. But I think for board action tonight, I think rather just let the item die after 90 days after the ZBA meeting, I think we need to go ahead and make a vote to say we agree with the zoning board of appeals or we disagree with them. So the zoning board of appeals was a recommendation not to grant the variance that was requested, and the minutes really laid it out quite well, how detailed they were and why the board took the vote that they did. Does anybody like to comment on that? I know you were on the ZBA.
Well, really, we had Bob laid it out real good, and we got 5 criteria we go by, and everyone was turned down. I mean, we can't overrule the health board. So, I mean, basically, as far as the zoning board of appeals, we're done, because we can't overrule them, and if the health board's gonna approve something for them, then they can do it, I guess, the way, unless, then it's, but really, there's nothing we can do now. I mean, it's
Right.
where we're at, so.
So does anybody have any questions for ZBA?
We tabled it last month,
They were working, yeah, they had just started working with the health department at this time.
but there was nothing.
There's been several communications going back and forth the last, or still, yeah, the last one was just sent Saturday. So, but that's outside of the ZBA and it's outside of us voting to comment or to accept the ZBA's recommendation. So,
Okay.
and if the Plain County Health Department approves what they want to do, then there's no issue at all.
Correct, yeah.
Then we just need to go. So, any questions? Entertain a motion to accept the zoning board of appeals recommendation to deny the variance request. Is that a double negative? We got into this 3 or 4 meetings ago, and I want to make sure we make the motion so that it avoids any double negative. You want to just make a motion to accept the recommendation from CDA, I think that would be adequate. I'll make a motion to accept the decision of the zoning board of appeals not to allow variance so far. Okay, so we have a motion to accept the CBA's recommendation to not allow the variance. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any final questions or discussions? None, Ellison, roll call.
Kevin Kelly,
Yes.
Aaron Pinder.
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
Lynn Norris.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, and I want to thank the CBA for meeting and discussing this and for Bob to document it so well. It's a great document he put together for it. So we also have a request for the status of the building codes updates. Do we have the manuals now, Danny?
Yeah, sorry. Yes, last week. We got those last week, early in the week. So if I remember right, Pat said we needed to have those 30 days. So we'll have those, above and beyond 30 days in our possession by the September meeting.
I'll be drafting the ordinance to adopt those and have it for you guys for that September meeting.
Thanks.
Okay, will you work with whoever the trustee is or with me to make sure we get that on the agenda for September meeting? What year will the building codes be?
Basically, for the most part, they're all 2021. I think Pat maybe has a copy of the books that we ordered, and what we were looking before when he mentioned that we need to have the books in our possession for 30 days. You still have that list, Pat?
Yeah, hold on one second, I'll pull it up.
I don't have that list.
Do we also have the list of exceptions that we won't enforce, like the?
Denny and I had spoken about that. We plan to just match normals in that regard. The list of codes, I believe, is 2021 International Building Code, 2021 International Fire Code, 2021 International Existing Building Code, 2021 International Residential Code, 2021 International Mechanical and Fuel Gas Code, 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, 2020 National Electrical Code, and the Plumbing Code of 2014. That's what normal is adopted, and I think, Denny, we were gonna do the same if I remember right.
Yeah, I think those are all basically the most recent codes that have come out.
And then we do have a list of exceptions, like requiring fire sprinkler systems in homes, things like that.
Normal has all of that stuff that they exempt, and as Pat just said, his and I's discussion is to follow what they do as we piggyback a lot of stuff they do, and questions that I may not know the answer to all comes back to those. So I personally prefer following what they.
I'm good with that. I just, one time we had exceptions, I wanted to make sure we
Yeah.
had those in place.
Yeah, they'll be in part of the ordinance.
Excellent. Okay, any other comments from anybody on ordinance and zoning? Now we'll move on to police, Kevin.
Yeah, I think Mark covered pretty much everything I had. The only thing I have to add is kind of based upon, kind of what Doug passed out, from the zoning board. There's a lot of things on here that are attributed to Lynn for the HR personnel piece. And it kind of brings to my attention that the village plan excluded the police department on that. So police department is a good part of that. So what I'm wondering is maybe I should work with Chief Connie to come up with what's your thoughts about coming up with a police plan to be incorporated into the village plan?
Give me an example of what we would add.
Well, kind of like here in part 2, it says, under the HR part, under personnel for Lynn, it says create job descriptions, expectations and responsibilities per role. Once completed, need board agreement and sign off, things like that. And I'm thinking if that's gonna be included.
That should be included in four, please. That would
Yeah,
be,
so
please
that's what
and,
I'm thinking is that the police is about a third of the budget, of the village budget is, you know, stating, you already know. But so I'm thinking, should we have but they're excluded from the village plan.
I wouldn't say excluded.
Well.
Yeah.
From what I
There's
see,
nothing specific for
when I
police.
read the village plan that we adopted, the phase 1, 2, and 3, it excludes that part. And what kind of jogged my mind is with Doug providing this to us now from the zoning board, and it doesn't include that part of it. So maybe I'll reach out to Mark, Lynn, and Aaron, and then we can talk about.
We want one
that piece
plan
of it,
for both police and non-police. So if there are things that we want to include, let's get them added.
Right.
We'll work through the planning commission.
And I'm not, Mark and I already have a job description, we might already have that information already. And, but maybe we need to.
Yeah. And I think Lynn being the HR person is why that's under Lynn.
Exactly, but she's got, there's a lot of things that were assigned
Well,
to her, but then
what
that's a
she's
lot,
gotta say is, okay,
that's a lot of work to do that.
she's gotta say, you're the trustee supervisor over the police, so give me job description.
Yeah.
And you can do that, say, okay, you're over park, so we want a job description for that. So
Right,
she doesn't have to do all the work. she just
Right.
coordinates.
and that's why I was kind of thinking, if we do some of that, we can include that in there too, so.
I'm just gonna expand on what Kevin was saying. Just because in the master plan, police isn't specifically mentioned, we do like the idea and want the idea of description. Things like that to include the police department. One thing to remember too, what drives a lot of Mark's department is state regs and national regs and so forth. So a lot of it's out of our hands. He's got to abide by the codes and rules that govern police work. So we talk about job descriptions, so by all means, we want to. But probably 90%, 80% of what he does is kind of out of our hands. He's just got to abide by all the. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so like.
We don't want it to seem like we've excluded that.
Yeah, I know you're not, I'm the same. I already talked to Richard about the police and on that part of it a while back. But like, I'm wondering, like, so like when we went from, when you took over, Mark, when you took over from Dale, was there a job description or anything that was shared with that, or is that something that we need to?
Yeah, there is a job description, because we have our own policies and procedures.
Yeah.
So in there, it talks about all those different rules. So we can get together with that.
Yeah, that's how,
Absolutely.
okay, thanks.
I'll let you work with Mark at first and
Yeah.
see what you come up with.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I don't have anything else to add.
Next is, water. Joe is, traveling this week, so Denny covered, I think, where we're at with water. The 3.5% loss is really good. Like, here's those good numbers. Next is public property. Aaron?
One thing I really got is I just want to say thanks to Denny and his crew for the work that they've done at the dog park. Every time I go by there, I'm shocked at how many people are actually using it. That's all I got.
Dog park is used quite a bit, and the people are looking forward to the shade from the shelter. Good addition, so appreciate everybody's efforts on that. All right, next is liquor commissioner, and I have no report for tonight, so our next item on the agenda is to move into closed session. The only thing on our agenda for closed session is to discuss and do the 6-month review of closed session minutes. That is something that the state requires us to do every 6 months. So we will be adjourning shortly to go into closed session. And for the audience's information, once we return to open session, the only agenda items that we will do will be to vote on whether or not to open any of the closed session minutes, and then we will be adjourning. So everyone is welcome to stay. Don't feel obligated to stay for any of our employees or committees or anything like that. So there will be no other village business, especially later on. So do we have a motion to move into closed session?
I'll make the motion. Go to closed session.
Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.